This is gonna be about some bullcrap that somebody said to me and just things that have been being said to me since I've been in the quote-unquote homeless community. Don't really like that term, especially because I really try to distance myself from other people for obvious reasons, but also some other ones that don't really have anything to do with the risk, or at least not serious risk. But anyway, so I was using the bathroom, and well, no, I wasn't. I was talking to somebody while they were brushing their teeth or putting on makeup or something like that. So basically, I was using the bathroom. And so then, this other person who recently got into the shelter had came up to me and started talking to me. Either both the people were talking to me. I can't even really remember, to be honest. And by the way, just to throw this in there, if you're doing the runaway little till 18 thing, there are, I don't even know, did I say that right? I think I did. There are some low barrier shelters where like they don't really check ID or anything, which the thing about that is places really just want a name in their system so they can get more grant money. But of course, due to the fact that they can be sued if somebody drugs, rapes, or beats you up at the shelter, they want you to say you're 18, so they want you to be 18, but you just have to say that you're 18 plus, because some truly don't care at the end of the day, but they just want to know that they're not going to be able to get sued. So anyway, if you do find a low barrier shelter, even resource center that really doesn't check ID or anything, you can just lie and say you're 18 and then you could get into the shelter. But of course, something that should be known is that people don't want to live in shelters due to the stuff that happens in institutionalized living. And I'm in the pallet type, which is the only type where you're going to be able to have your own space. Other than that, you're sitting in one room with a whole bunch of beds listening to people snore and do all types of things all night while it's either really cold or really hot, and it's really unideal. Not to mention, you usually have a time when you can leave and a time when you can come back to the shelter. So it really gets in the way of people even being able to have jobs. But that's in like traditional shelters. So you probably wouldn't want to, but if you do ever need to go stay at a shelter or something, like if the weather's really, really bad and stormy, you can try finding a low barrier shelter and lying about your age. But there also may be storm shelters in your city that you can go to. And that's also if you actually look like you're 18, but I mean, I don't look anywhere near my age, and most of the staff feel like I'm like 13, and then there was a whole bunch of mess about how old I look, because I still don't know who it was, to be honest, but I tried to go to some meeting to try to like, I don't even remember. Oh yeah, I was trying to figure out about the city street cleaning crew where they pay homeless people in gift cards, apparently, because that's the stuff that they like to do to us. And so I went to the meeting about this, and the lady didn't believe my age, so instead she reached out to some other resource center that she seen that I went to and told them that she didn't really believe my age because of my size and stature, and so that was it. But luckily the resource center legally can't respond to any messages about me, so they told me, and I think I told them not to respond or something like that. That was a little while ago. But yeah, so if you look 18, you can try the shelter thing or whatever if you really need to. Because honestly, it is kind of risky, because it's like, if you were doing a good enough job being in your own space and not being around like other homeless people, or really just other people in general, due to all the risk of being reported or people asking too many questions or just being weird. If you were doing a good job before you got into the shelter, once you get in the shelter, different rounds of people are going to come in depending on how long you can stay in there. So like if it's one night or 30 days or 6 months is honestly kind of rare. But if you're okay, wait a minute, what was I? Oh yeah, so the rounds of people coming in, and now there's some more people in the quote-unquote homeless community that are going to know that you're out there, which then actually puts you at more risk of things happening. So yeah, that's just something to keep in mind. But back to what I was originally saying. So I was in the bathroom talking to someone, and then this other lady came up. I met her before a little while ago. She's another one of the people who went through the Cash for Kids system, specifically the CPS / foster care branch. And of course, they traumatize, traffic, drug, and label these people. And when you're in the Cash for Kids system, you're in institutions. So what that means is that you don't know anything about doing anything for yourself, because you're not allowed to do anything for yourself. Most likely you're never going to be allowed to work a job. You have to eat when people tell you to, sleep where people tell you to, when they tell you to, shower when people tell you to, if they let you shower and they don't like have some punishment system set up where if you don't get up when people tell you to or do what they want you to, you can't shower, you can't eat. But that's commonly what happens in institutions. No, you don't. Well, they usually make you clean up, but some may be really, really neglectful. Maybe you don't end up learning how to clean up or something like that. But that's a summary of what happens when you're in the Cash for Kids system, or really when you grow up in the Cash for Kids system. So they dump you out at 18 if they haven't driven you crazy by that point or killed you. So if they've driven you crazy by that point, you're probably on the road to going to adult prison or some adult facility. But yeah, so they dump you out at 18, and then you don't really know how to do anything for yourself. And you may even be addicted to drugs because, like I said in the Truth of the Homeless Population video, the part 2, I think that's what no, there wasn't a part 1, was there? I don't even know, but like I said in that video, the areas that are quote-unquote mostly white, or mostly quote-unquote white, or at least used to be, due to the fact that drugs weren't policed there, due to a whole bunch of racial stuff and how drugs are decriminalized in the mostly quote-unquote white areas. So like on the West Coast and I guess the Midwest could be too, but I don't really know. But in the West Coast specifically, because the majority of the quote-unquote black population live in the South, for people that don't know that. Since it was decriminalized, to get back to the point, the kids who grow up in foster care on the West Coast, or the kids in the West Coast in general, get into drugs easier, like all types of different drugs, which is why quote-unquote white people do more drugs statistically, due to the fact that they're actually allowed to have more drugs. But of course, the more ethnicities that have moved into like places like the West Coast, of course they can end up getting on drugs too. But my point is, that's how the laws were set up for racial reasons. And regardless of the immigration and people moving these days, these are the areas that used to be mostly white, and honestly pretty much still are. And people will throw up Oakland in my face, but what people don't get is that majority of the quote-unquote black population live in the South. Throwing up Oakland doesn't mean jack diddly, because I don't even know what I was about to say. But yeah, so like I said in the Truth of the Homeless Population video, the foster kids out here, are able to like get in all types of drugs, and so they're able to be addicted to heroin and stuff by like 8, which I've met a couple people out here with stories like that, and even people I met in other places that are from here. So like, I mean, people I met in support groups that are from LA, not LA, what's LA? Yeah, wait. Yeah, that are from LA and stuff, or maybe it was San Diego. I met a dude. He wasn't really in foster care, but he was abused, and he grew up in the cash for kids system because he was always in jail since he was kicked out since he was 7. He got into drugs at 7. And so basically they're able to get into drugs earlier, and I'm all over the place like usual. I can't keep my train of thought for Jack. But basically, this lady was on drugs, to make a long story short. I went way somewhere else because I kind of forgot what I was even getting at. But yeah, she grew up in foster care, and yeah, there was it. So, what'd she say again? Okay, so I was in the bathroom. I don't even want to upload this. This is embarrassing. To be truthfully honest, this is like, I mean, I can't say it's not worse than my usual. This is probably like one of the worst ones I've made in a while. But I mean, I lose my train of thought a lot. So I mean, it's been the issue since the part 1 channel, or more so maybe like the part 2. But I was in the bathroom, and so, oh man, the lady was telling me about how I need to take advantage of all the services that are out here for me before I turn 18. And I was like, first of all, I am 18. I was like, you people really need to stop running around throwing out assumptions about me, because if you keep saying this when the staff members already think all the different things that they think, I'm not going to be able to stay here for the little bit of time I even have left. To be honest, I think I only have like 1 or 2 months left or something like that. That honestly, well, hold up. No. I hope not. Do I? Hold up. Wait a minute. February. Well, basically, kind of. Maybe 2, 3. But I was like, well, I don't even know. Did I respond? But I know I said something to her and plenty of other people about this before. But her specifically, this has came up a lot. And I'm like, I keep telling you I'm 18. You need to stop saying otherwise regardless of what you think or believe, because if you keep saying this, I can get kicked out of here. But people don't give a crap. But that was a wild statement, though, because I'm like, what services? And this goes back to something I was saying back when I used to have the evidence channels. What I was saying on the part 6 channel, because I had videos about where I was kind of venting about different little bull crap that happened with let me help you lunatic type people, because that's what I call them. But basically, I had met this other lady and her boyfriend who grew up in foster care. The lady was put in a white supremacist tainment home, a whole bunch of mess. But they both had been addicted to drugs since they were like, for forever. I know the boyfriend specifically since he was 8, which is a common thing out here. At least for other drugs other than weed. In the South, they have weed even though we're not allowed to. But, I mean, of course they do have other drugs, but like I said, mostly white areas because they're allowed to have it because it's decriminalized in their areas. So, like, when I lived in GA, I knew a girl who was quote-unquote white, and she knew a lot of stuff about a lot of different drugs because she was always hanging around weird, racist molester dudes who did all types of drugs. So she knew a lot about that stuff because actually I remember a while ago, I would ask her questions about things I saw out here. So I'd be like, what's that thing where like when people are high or whatever and they're like bent over. And she's the one that told me that it's called nodding. But yeah. So where was I? Where was I at? Wait a minute. Okay, I remember now. So her and her boyfriend have really, really bad cognitive dissonance about all the crap that happened to them in foster care, and because of foster care, that's still affecting them till this day. And I brought them up because it seems like this is a common issue for people to have really bad cognitive dissonance about how bad foster care messed them up. Because that lady in the bathroom, I can't even think of any other services she could even be talking about, quote unquote services, other than me going into CPS. Which people throw that up, but it's like, do they not think that CPS was involved plenty of times before people end up in situations like I'm in? It just doesn't even make sense. There's so much stupid stuff about when people make comments like that. And at the end of the day, who wants to be getting trafficked and abused through any part of the Cash for Kids system anyway? It's like, honestly, if somebody was to call whoever, maybe CPS still... Well, okay, so the thing about out here is that there's a chance that maybe I could end up getting kidnapped by CPS simply because they make a lot of money selling kids like me to white supremacist people who sex traffic kids. And that's the only reason I could think that they would actually even actually take me if somebody was to call them. But it's like, why would I want that? That's the only thing I could think of, because it's like, what other services? Because, I mean, that's not even real quote-unquote services, but there is nothing else other than the CPS trafficking government abuse cult. So it's just a really, really weird thing, and that kind of goes into something else I wanted to say, which is that you'll run into a lot of people who are intimidated by you and jealous because you're younger than them when you're in the quote-unquote homeless community. And it's like, all of it is more the reason why I just tried to avoid people and really didn't want to stay at a shelter in the first place. I mean, well, the age thing was one of the main reasons I didn't want to stay at a shelter. But it's like, now it's still just the fact that I don't like institutionalized living. I don't like the things that happen there, but I also really want to be away from people, because something that I've learned throughout my life is that where there's people, there's a whole bunch of mess and chaos. To make a long story short. What? And stuff like that. Which is why I really did my best to avoid people. And trying to remember if she said anything else. Oh yeah. So basically she also had ended up getting into sex trafficking and getting kidnapped or something at one point. And I remember she was telling somebody one day about the crap that happened in the placement, how she got kicked out. Actually, the girl I was just mentioning that I met back in GA, she went to one of those places like that for people under 18, but the quote-unquote sex trafficking help facility ended up kicking her out because she was suicidal and quote-unquote she needed a higher level of care. And the joke that she made to me about them was that place is the highest level of care there is. And the crazy thing to me about that, I'm about to go off into a whole nother tangent, but the craziest thing to me about the fact that she was in that place is that they still never talked to her about what was actually bad about the molester dudes, to where she was still running around calling these people her boyfriends and stuff. And that's exactly why I say, what quote-unquote services? Because there's nothing out here but the Cash for Kids system and other systems put in place to take advantage of people to make the summary of the quote-unquote help that there is in quote-unquote services. But yeah, so the lady was telling me about sex trafficking and stuff. And I was like, I already know about that, which actually I do. Honestly, she should. I mean, I understand why people will want to warn me, but like, there's probably other people that should hear about that because most Americans still believe that all that stuff is a conspiracy theory anyway. And I already know a lot about that stuff, and people hate that I talk about it as much as I do. Well, that and the cash for kids system. I talk about the cash for kids system a lot. But I mean, I studied and started sex trafficking and all the other stuff since I was like 7. And I don't need somebody to try to throw something like that up in my face to try to guilt trip me into jumping into the hands of services that don't exist. And that's something that I hate. I hate when people see that you're in the same situation they're in, or at least similar, because I really don't see myself as being in the exact same situation as some other people. But that's kind of another story. What? Because that's another story. But I'll just say similar, so I can hurry up and finish this, because it's already 21 minutes for some reason. I don't like when people see that I'm in a similar situation to them and they try to like guilt trip me about it, especially when it comes to like being homeless or whatever, because it's like, I mean, if there were actually options, do you really think any of us would be out here if there were quote unquote services? It's just really stupid. I really hate this idea that some people have, which really revolves around cognitive dissonance and their own issues and maybe a little bit of jealousy, but they feel like people quote unquote care about me more because I'm younger, whatever age they even think I am at that, and that there's quote unquote more services to me because I'm younger. And really, the quote unquote services that they're always talking about is CPS. And it's like, they would take me here probably just so they can traffic me and put me in the white supremacist tainment homes where they sex traffic the kids and stuff. And uh, all the other things that they do to the kids of different ethnicities. But like, other than that, CPS has shown exactly how they felt, which is a good thing though, because honestly, that could have been the worst thing that ever happened. I was already in the cash for kids system. I would have just moved to another branch if I would have went into CPS, quote unquote, care. I mean, technically, I was already in CPS just about. I was already in the cash for kids system where they traffic you to different placements and they label and drug you. I don't understand why in the world she keeps knocking on my door and then running away somewhere else. This is exactly why I didn't want to stay at the shelter. But what was I saying? Oh my gosh. But yeah, so I don't even know what I was saying, but the lady in the bathroom, she went into this story that I've heard her tell to other people before about her being held down and raped and all that. And it's, I mean, of course, it's not that I don't care, which, I mean, that wasn't even really the point of her telling me. It was more so to, like, try to scare me. But that's the thing, though. Scare me into getting, quote-unquote, help from who? Because, I mean, for all that, she could have gotten help from whoever when she was under 18. But that's the type of stuff that people do. Because I really got to stop recording because I don't even remember what in the world. I keep losing my train of thought.